Hello, and welcome back to This World, My Take, the audio podcast, where we break down developments shaping American democracy. Hey folks, John here. Today, a federal watchdog has launched an investigation into the very prosecutor who dared to charge Donald J. Trump, raising serious questions about justice, power, and accountability in America. How you guys doing, folks? I hope you guys are doing good and you had a great week. Now let's just have a real recap and the facts on what we know so far, folks. On August 1st, 2025, the U.S. Office of Special Counsel, that is the OSC, an independent watchdog tasked with enforcing the Hatch Act, announced an investigation into Jack Smith, the former DOJ special counsel who led high-profile investigations into Donald Trump for classified documents and the January 6th Capitol assault. Those cases ended under Trump's re-election due to DOJ policy against prosecuting a sitting president. So guess what? This guy actually ran for the second term because he was trying to avoid jail term. You can argue all you want, folks, but there are facts to back this up. Now, what is the trigger? A request from Senator Tom Cotton of Arizona, who accused Smith of politically motivated prosecution timed to influence the 2024 election. I don't know if Tom Cotton is right about this one, but hey, any person who kisses up to Donald J. Trump gets a point. So Tom Cotton calls Smith a political actor masquerading as a public official. He claims that this Jack Smith push to hold Donald J. Trump accountable was actually uncalled for. Now let's talk about the institutional context of all of this, folks. We are now in a country where the same bunch of people who were talking about the DOJ was being weaponized against one of their own just because, as facts stated, and data has shown that this one of their own guy was actually a criminally charged felon, somebody who was convicted in New York of, sexually harassing a lady a couple of decades ago. But let's talk about the institutional context. Let's unpack how unusual this is. Jack Smith had already resigned in January 2025 after submitting his final report, which stated his team had gathered sufficient evidence to convict Donald Trump. He had not won re-election, Yet, the OSC, now led by Trump-aligned officials and critics of Smith, chose to open an inquiry into Smith's conduct. So think about this, folks. A just human being conducts an investigation and sees that there are evidences that one of their own actually is supposed to be sitting somewhere in jail. And let me say that if this man wasn't who he is, I'm sure he would have been sitting in jail. If this man was Mr. Obama, I bet you that the whole of white America would have been on Mr. Obama's case. Now, analysts want this looks less like standard procedure and more like retaliation. We have seen this man retaliate on different type of things. We just saw this man retaliate by firing Dr. Erica of the BLS just because the statistics for the job report for July show that he didn't do much as he was claiming to do. A former official being propped not for wrongdoing but for simply doing his job, folks. This is where America is today. But we voted for this guy. When I say we, not me in particular, because there are a whole lot of people who don't even support this guy. And we told a whole lot of people this, but some of you guys still voted for him. Now let's talk about the weaponizing of the DOJ, the patterns and precedents, folks. This fits a disturbing pattern during Trump's second term. The targeting of his perceived opponents, including career prosecutors, judges, federal officials, and oversight bodies. The DOJ, which is actually kissing up to Donald J. Trump right now, and the new leadership have launched a weaponization working group tasked with reviewing and shaming officials who investigated Donald J. Trump. Yes, because this man leads a court, The court leader, once they are in power, now that they are in power, they want to make sure that those who ever shamed their court leader for criminal things that he did. It's not like this is made up, some kind of made up thing against Donald J. Trump. Yes, they're going after them. This is crazy, but this is America we live in today. These moves include shutting down prosecutions, firing officials, revoking security clearances, and aggressively using investigations to intimidate critics. This sounds like a third world country already. This sounds like some dictator in Africa, you know? It's institutional bullying, destroying the independence of justice institutions, and dismantling the rule of law. Protection. Isn't it funny that this guy ran on the concept that he was going to be a president of law and order, and the GOP to law and order, and then they are going after people who try to hold this criminal in the White House responsible for all of his deeds. It's crazy. Now let's balance. Is it a balance? Let's have an analysis, a balanced analysis of all this whole mess, folks. Here's the core conflict. Oversight is necessary, true. But what if oversight becomes political weaponry? Is holding officials accountable for misconduct fair? Or is it being used to dismantle the very system that permits accountability? We all know that Donald Trump doesn't like accountability. He's never been held accountable for anything in his whole life. Heck, he always, when something comes that he is of his own doing, he always tries to point the finger at somebody else. Now, Senator Tom Cotton's motions to investigate Jack Smith appears to be less about legal violation and more about silencing the legal threat to Donald Trump's political comeback. And those who support this move, whether in Congress, media, or legal circles, are enabling an assault on American democratic norms, trivializing accountability and projecting a version of America that delights in dismantling its own institution. This is what dictators have done in history, folks. If we go through, memory lane, all the wars that we've had on earth in this world started by leaders who went doing the same exact thing Donald Trump is doing. Folks, I smell danger. There's danger coming for America because the economy is going to go on the water. This whole tariff situation with different partners has already put a whole lot of people out of business. The very same people who voted and called for this man's re-election. And some of them are seen all over social media crying and regretting why they voted for this guy. Talk about the farmers. It's crazy. Now, in conclusion, folks, I will say this. So where does this leave us as the American people? We are watching a leader, a crook, a corrupt government that's taking down and dismantling watchdogs, and by investigating the person who dared to investigate this criminal of a president. That is not oversight. That is vengeance, folks. Yes, if somebody tells you that they are going to go after you just because you tried to investigate and bring clarity over something that the whole world saw this man do, this is crazy. Our institutions must remain independent, impartial, and resistant to political demands, even from the president or his allies. If we lose that, folks, we lose the very bedrock of democracy. And it is funny that we go around telling the world what to do and how to act democratically, and then we are having this guy just dismantling the very foundation and the bedrock of democracy in our own country. This is crazy. Thank you for listening to This Will Matic, the audio podcast. If this episode resonated with you, please do share, subscribe, and stay engaged, because protecting institution isn't political. It's essential. Stay alert and stay informed, folks. This world is complicated, and we will keep talking about it. Have a great weekend.